All right. Welcome everyone to What's Trauma Got to Do with It, a global culture first chapter event. So excited to have you joining us today. The purpose of today is to better understand the connection between trauma and the workplace. And we're just coming to work every day with our baggage. Some people are aware of it, some people aren't, but let's talk about it. Excited to amplify the two speakers that are here with us today. But before I introduce them, my name's Jessie Jacob. I run our Global Chapters program. So you all are a part of 13,000 other people on our shared mission to create a better world of work. So shout out to you all for just showing up today and doing the work. If this is your first time to the community, I'm about to give you a little explainer about it. And if this is not your first time, welcome back. And this is just another refresher of the work we're doing in the world. So who are we? We are a group of people around the world united in the shared belief that a better world of work is possible. And by golly, we're willing to do something about it. We have 5 core principles here in the community that we ask you all to embody today. This is the glue that holds all of our global chapters together. We don't dictate the kinds of content that you all talk about in your local communities, but we do ask that these are the guiding principles for how we do the work. This is our microculture. So we ask that you foster belonging and acceptance and just let people be seen and valued and appreciated for just being themselves and showing up today. We ask that you have the willingness to reflect and grow if we're on this mission to transform the future of work. That goes to our organizations, but ultimately that starts with us being the change we want to see in the world. And so turning that mirror around and saying, how can I show up? What can I do? What are my contributions to this? Having the courage to be vulnerable. So this is a touchy subject. The word, the T word, the trauma word is a hot topic for many people. And so just being willing to play with your edge of vulnerability, whatever that looks like for you, that looks different for all of us. But having the courage to be vulnerable, we're all wearing masks constantly at work. So if you're able to kind of delayer some of those, it gives other people permission to be more of their full selves as well. We ask that you put your learnings into action. So this is what we're all about. Like, we hope that you take something away today and are able to implement it into the way that you live or the way that you work to ultimately transform the greater world of work. And lastly, connection inside, business outside. This is a fancy way of saying that in the context of the gathering today, we ask you to connect on the inside first as a human being. And if that leads to folks connecting later to do business together, that's awesome. But the primary purpose of the day isn't necessarily networking and pushing sales and all of that good stuff. All right, so I'm going to introduce our speakers to today, and then I'm going to hand it off to them. So I'm really grateful that I get to work with really cool folks and amplify the work that they are doing in the world. So today here with Natalia and Sarah. Natalia is an award-winning trauma-informed facilitator. She has a background in international law and sustainable development. She's a certified mindfulness, meditation, and yoga teacher. She, after suffered re-traumatization through meditation, she studied trauma-sensitive approaches. She co-founded the Trauma and Neurodivergence Initiative and launched the Trauma Circle process on Inner MBA. If you all are aware of Inner MBA, amazing organization. And that's increased awareness over time as well. So she considers trauma awareness to be a key to sustainable and regenerative transformation, and is constantly seeking to keep this conversation active and alive. She lives with her daughter in Geneva, Switzerland, and is also the Geneva Culture First chapter lead. So thank you, Natalia, for being here. Super, super excited to learn from you today. Yeah, exactly. And then Sarah Ginke, she is one of Culture Amp's top 25 emerging culture creators in the wellness space from 2024. She is a nervous system and resilience coach who is certified in TRE, which stands for Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises. And she will talk more about that today. She's the founder of Reset Resilience, a wellness consultancy on a mission to reduce suffering in the workplace. So She is also a Culture First chapter lead for the Madison, Wisconsin chapter and is in her second year as a chapter lead. And through her work, she helps people reclaim power and balance over their nervous system so they can live less stressful and more peaceful lives. Which I have benefited from one of her TRE sessions, and I can heavily +1 to that. So thank you, Sarah and Natalia, for being here. Super, super grateful. Handing it off to you both, my friends.
Ah, Jessie, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I am so grateful to be here today, especially as we kick off Mental Health Awareness Month. Of course, we cannot go further without thanking Culture First and Culture Amp for this amazing opportunity. We also want to thank our fellow somatic and embodiment practitioners. As you know, there's a million other things that you could be doing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the work and for sharing your expertise and your knowledge with us in the chat here today.
And we also want to extend our gratitude to those of you who do not necessarily qualify as practitioners. Maybe you just want to know more about this topic. Maybe you know something already, and you want to know more about that, and especially in the workplace context. And whichever your intention or reason for joining us today, we want to thank you for helping us embody the principle of vulnerability of Culture First, and for your commitment to yourself and those around you, because this is what it is essentially.
Next slide, Jessie.
And before we dive into this topic, we would like to acknowledge first that any conversation about trauma can be taxing for your body, for your nervous system, your inner resources. And it's our intention to hold this space today and this conversation by acknowledging the way it may resonate on your side. And we will be introducing as we go certain elements that aim to facilitate navigating our conversation today in a more trauma-sensitive way. So we can give you, our intention is to give you a little bit of a lived experience of this approach as well. And to hold this space together in a trauma-informed way, we really need to establish kind of two-way communication here. So we will need your help as well to be able to do that. And we will also be introducing some elements as we go that will help us do that.
And in honor of creating that container, first and foremost, we want you to take care of yourself today and to engage in the ways that work for you and your body. So what does that mean? Well, if you need to get up, get a glass of water, if you need to switch your camera on and off, same for your audio. Maybe your feet are cold and you need a pair of socks, so you'd like a blanket or a pillow. Or maybe you need to doodle or color during this. Please feel free to do that. And lastly, most importantly, if you're getting a feeling that this webinar is getting to be a little bit too much, you are welcomed and encouraged to leave. Please take care of yourself.
And if you have any feedback, whenever and in whichever form resonates for you, about this webinar or how it landed for you, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be sharing our contact details and our spaces and offerings as well. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so we are probably all Simon Sinek fans. So starting with our why. And this is my why. So you may not be able to tell from these photos, but I have an intimate relationship with trauma. My trauma has significantly impacted all elements of my life, including my career. And at times, my workplace experiences exacerbated my trauma to the point of being re-traumatized at one point in time in my career. I didn't have leaders who I felt psychologically safe with. And had I had a leader who embodied this type of leadership, that probably would have changed a lot for me. So, in light of wanting to be the change you want to see in the world, I set out on my mission of reducing workplace suffering by co regulating, meaning connecting, with people through their nervous systems. So, my intention for you, the audience today, is to know a few things. One, your employees and are currently experiencing trauma. We cannot separate the personal from professional. Just as Jessie had said earlier, we can't drop our baggage at the door. Our trauma is carried with us through those doors, and that includes the workplace. Now more than ever, we need leaders with high levels of emotional intelligence and empathy, especially with the infusion of AI. And lastly, it's essential for leaders to know the signs within their employees and within themselves of trauma. So to kind of wrap up here, my turning point in my life and my career was finding meditation 7+ years ago, which was shortly followed by the discovery of TRE, again, tension and trauma releasing exercises, a little over 4 years ago. These modalities had changed my life. And today I now teach individuals how to reconnect back to their bodies, reclaiming themselves through TRE.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that with us. I just want to give a tiny moment to give space to that. And on my personal why, I try to organize my pictures for life before, then and after my re-traumatization. And as you can see on the left, there is at least one picture that shows that part of my life. I had been enjoying a very successful career in international law and cooperation until just a few years ago. In the middle of what I thought was my dream job, crowning all my achievements, my body just collapsed. It just went into a full stop. And I was bedridden for a month, and it took me much longer to recover from that. I lost my job. I had to move. The lives of me and my daughter were uprooted again. And so this was the first ring from the postman, as they say in the proverb. And later the same year, my back gave in. And I thought I would never be able to walk again in my life. And at the root of both accidents was trauma. And yet I had no idea about any of that. And it happened that between these two accidents, I embarked on a 2-year journey to qualify as a mindfulness meditation teacher. With MMTCP of Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield. Maybe you've heard about this program. Maybe it's one of the longest and most intensive programs to qualify as meditation teacher. And halfway through the first year, I crash landed onto my inner landscape, realizing that the imprint of one of my childhood experiences nearly hijacked my entire life. I went through severe re-traumatization, and I'm still recovering from it. And to help myself, I studied David Treleaven's trauma-sensitive mindfulness meditation, and then I started applying trauma sensitivity. So I call it sometimes applied trauma sensitivity everywhere, not just to meditation. And this allowed me to start reclaiming my energy, my voice, my health, my life from the grip of post-traumatic conditioning. And we co-founded Trauma Sensitivity Circle on Inner MBA to see how trauma can interfere on our journey from point A to B. Any transformation, any intention, be it professional, educational, transformation, or healing. And then I decided to make the same process available to the general public. And this year I won an award from Meetup Pro for my work and trauma-related offerings there. And I'm happy to welcome some of the participants, by the way, here. Thank you. And I see trauma-informed approach as part of sustainability and regeneration agenda in a broader sense, and actually as a key to achieving sustainable, not only sustainable development goals, but also inner development goals, especially them. And this is the ingredient that can make both a reality. And because I believe that without first giving a space to what is, which includes the accumulation of imprint of human experience in our bodies and nervous systems, we cannot get where we want to be. And to help people, what I do, I help kind of now build people parachutes to get a sense of what's going on in a landscape without derailing their systems. I advocate for trauma-informed approach across traditions, offerings, and practices. And I raise awareness about this topic, which is what we're doing here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Holding space for what you've just shared. I'm sure some others are resonating with that as well. Okay.
And after these introductions and telling our stories, why we're here talking about this topic and what brought us to this point in our lives, we would like to give all of us now kind of to get a better sense of how we land in this space. And before we do that, we want to do our first interactive activity today and to know more about your experience with practices that could be referred to as check-in or grounding or arrival, in which context you have that experience. So this is the purpose of the poll we're going to be sharing with you now.
Jessie.
Okay, I'm sorry I had to stop sharing.
No worries.
All right, here we go. Gosh, I haven't launched a poll in a while. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly walk us through this. We want to understand what your experience is with arrival practices, grounding exercises, or check-in practices. So the first we have, I've had exposure to that, but only in non-professional environment. I've had exposure to that, but in a working environment. I've had exposure to that in both the professional and non-professional environment. I've had enough of that. And what the heck is an arrival and grounding check-in?
Oh my gosh, these are so great.
They're like battling.
No one's clicked I've had enough yet. I know I haven't revealed the responses yet, but all right, we'll give just a few seconds left if you haven't answered.
Oh, that's great. We've had a 91 out of 106 people.
Amazing. Do you want me
fill
to
out the poll.
share this?
Yeah, let's take a
poll?
look.
Okay, here we go. Ending poll, sharing results. Here we go.
Interesting. Natalia, look at that. Both environments has one. Super
Yeah, that's amazing. I did not expect to see that such a high percentage experience that both in professional and, let's say, a non-working environment. Yes, it is, Sharon. That's very encouraging indeed. And so we wanted to give you an experience of something slightly different. We would like to call it a non-practice arrival practice. And it's going to take maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And when we will be guiding you towards the end of this practice, just feel free to take your time, but we will be also including that in the guidance.
Okay, so before we start to engage, we need to check that everything in our environment, the body, its positioning, is going to support you in your intention for this practice today. So first, let's start with the body and the positioning. If you're seated, make sure to have your feet flat and your hips and your shoulders and your head aligned. We don't want you to be super rigid, just a gentle resting in your place and not leaning too far back. Making sure your legs aren't crossed and placing your hands perhaps on your lap or wherever it feels best for you. And then second, we want to check the environment. So let's check if your feet are cold. If they are, go ahead, get a pair of socks or put a blanket on them. We want to make sure there's not a draft coming through the window if it's bothering you, that you're not thirsty, that there's no bright light in your face, or that your back hurts, or if you need a cushion. So once we do this internal and external check, feel free to close your eyes, or if you'd like, you can keep them open, but make sure it's a lowered, unfocused gaze so that your attention is not going too much to what you're looking at. Whatever best supports you in this intention and practice.
And then our invitation is to simply try to get a sense of what's coming up. Just try to see, sense, or feel how just that invitation to check in lands for you internally. Just see what's coming up. Maybe there is some tiredness or resistance. Maybe there is some combination of emotions that you might not be able to name right away. Just sensing that something is moving, changing. Maybe there are some thoughts about this practice. Like, I don't think it's working for me. Or maybe there is some planning or imagining, just seeing what's arising without interfering with it. Allowing your experience to be just as it is. And if there is not much to observe, see if you can observe that too. Gently noticing what you may need before we gradually move towards wrapping up this practice. Taking the time you need before you re-engage with the world around you. Maybe opening your eyes if you feel ready, sensing if your body maybe needs some water or some gentle movement, stretching.
And if you are sensing the need to create some movement, either sitting or standing, whatever best work for you, you can go ahead and join me in actually just kind of shaking off the residue of what we just experienced. Nothing intense, just a little movement.
So before we move to the next segment of our webinar, we just allow ourselves, after the non-practice, a little check-in buffer, just to a mental question mark. Where am I? How am I now? And address whichever need might be arising. And to give us a very well-deserved break, we did the non-arrival practice and we had a little buffer. And now we would like you to sit back and relax and enjoy one of the best videos we found out there to explain the foundations of neurophysiology of trauma through the lenses of polyvagal theory.
We did send it before the webinar, so if you didn't get a chance to watch it, that's totally fine. The video is 9 minutes, so if you get an opportunity, we encourage you to watch it fully outside of this. But we're about to share what we feel is the most relevant parts. So during this video, feel free to, like we said, get up, get yourself some tea, water, and enjoy this insightful video.
Half of us have a chronic disorder such as high blood pressure or autoimmune disease. Rates of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and addiction are skyrocketing. Why? The roots of these issues and more can often be traced to trauma, adverse childhood experiences, chronic stress, and ultimately, nervous system dysregulation. Meet your autonomic nervous system. Let's call it ANS. ANS takes care of a lot of your automatic functions, like your heartbeat, digestion, and body temperature. ANS also manages your survival and stress response, working to keep you alive when your life is in danger. ANS functions as our built-in detection system, constantly scanning our environment for cues of safety and cues of danger. As ANS scans the environment, it has 3 general responses fluidly from one temperature.
All right, this is where my editing comes in.
This is how AI optimizes my schedule. This meeting got canceled. Hooray! We didn't really.
Is critically important. There is a whole spectrum of experiences that can be traumatizing and adversely impact ANS, like accidents, assaults, and natural disasters, which are often called shock traumas. There is also developmental or relational trauma, when we experience chronic adversity, abuse, neglect, and lack of safety while growing up. Many other experiences can be traumatizing, including chronic stress, medical procedures, and adverse community environments, like poverty, discrimination, and violence. Additionally, new research in epigenetics shows us that trauma can get passed down genetically at least 3 generations. In the past, we've thought about trauma as events that happen to us. We now know that trauma is an experience, not an event. It's what happens inside of us as a result of what happens to us. It's our response to the event rather than the event itself. We are learning that many physical and emotional symptoms may emerge from a chronically dysregulated ANS. When ANS gets stuck in survival states, our biology shifts its focus from the tasks that keep us healthy, happy, and thriving to surviving the immediate perceived threat. Many conditions and symptoms that are chronic and difficult to diagnose and treat can be attributed to a dysfunctional ANS. Our childhood experiences can also keep us from connecting with others. This is vitally important because as children, our #1 survival priority is to attach to caregivers. When the people responsible for our safety aren't safe, and we are living in chronic states of unsafety, ANS doesn't get wired right. The part of ANS that judges what is safe and what is not becomes faulty. If intimacy and connection were unsafe as a child, as adults, we'll often unconsciously reject attempts from friends and partners to connect. Even though intimacy and connection is what we want, ANS feels it's unsafe and won't allow it. Trauma compromises our ability to engage with others, replacing the need for connection with the need for protection. When there has been trauma, ANS can no longer differentiate between our unsafe past and our now safe present. ANS can't turn off the need to protect, even though we are now safe. So what can we do when ANS becomes dysregulated? How do we recover from trauma and develop a healthy, regulated, resilient nervous system? Fortunately, we can retrain ANS to feel safe again. This is best done with the help of others. Each one of us has an ANS, and our ANS is constantly communicating with and attuning to the states of others. We autonomically mirror the states of those around us. This is called co-regulating. We see it in herd behavior. If one animal senses danger, the entire group becomes more alert, increasing their chances of survival. We're exactly the same. When we're with others who are stressed, angry, or depressed, it makes us feel worse. When we're with others who are calm and happy, it makes us feel better. Connecting with others who are safe, attuned, and present is the best way to restore a healthy ANS. For those
Wow, what an awesome video explaining how trauma impacts not just our minds, but also our bodies. So, what is trauma? Well, we heard in the video that trauma is an experience. Others define it as an event or the imprint. Is it all of them? Well, for today's webinar, we're going to define trauma as not the event, but rather the physiological, emotional, and psychological, and physical response to an event, series of circumstances that are threatening, distressing, or harmful. Next slide, Jessie. Thanks. So what's important to know here is that trauma is subjective. What's traumatic for one person might not be traumatic for another, meaning the same event might not have that same internal experience or imprint from one person to another.
And we might not remember what happened or interpret it differently. But our bodies remember. So there is sometimes this dissonance. And it's easy to say that the bodies remember, and you might know the work, the body keeps the score. But sometimes the body's memory or its voice or the ability to communicate to you or the decision-making center can be blocked as well due to trauma. So the body might remember, but it might not be possible to communicate that memory or to access it. And in relation to the memory or interpretation of an event, let's take, for example, abuse survivors versus neglect survivors. In the case of abuse, more or less everyone knows how that can look or feel like. But in a case of neglect, very few survivors may identify as such because they have nothing to compare it with. They don't know what they never had. And there is also one thing regarding interpretation of events. For example, if something happened at the hand of caregivers in the early development stage, we tend to interpret those events. Even if we remember them, the interpretation will be done through a very strong program to love our caregivers unconditionally. So, and that program will permeate the way we interpret the events in the past.
And those past events are what we filter things through. It's the lens in which we look through life at. And it's can't be said enough that our past is brought with us into the present moment. And those experiences are what shape and color our world today.
And we actually don't need to experience a traumatic event in the regular sense of this word to have a trauma-like imprint on the body, the nervous system, and life. And even a look or a sound or one word or the absence of the word or a look that was needed in that moment can create a life-altering shift on the inside. Some call it signature or imprint of the experience on the body and the nervous system.
And continuing on this trauma train, many of us have probably heard of big T and little t trauma. Big T trauma is those life-threatening things that are things like war, abuse, natural disaster. And little t trauma are non-life-threatening events such as divorce, bullying, and or financial trauma. And we have to call it out that trauma is not just this cut and dry. Some practitioners use these categories as a way to understand or wrap our head around the phenomenon that is trauma.
And while this distinction may be helpful for some, it can also be misleading in a way that a certain experience or exposure might not fall squarely within any of these categories, yet have a life-altering effect.
Right. For example, as you see, emotional abuse is on the right. And I would not categorize my emotional abuse as a little t trauma because it had such a large imprint on me. And it's also important to note that emotional and physical abuse light up the same parts of the brain. So the body cannot tell the difference between the two.
And sometimes applying this distinction in an overly formalistic way may invite the sense of shame or self-judgment for those who experience these events.
Mm-hmm. Next slide, Jessie. Thanks. So as you may begun to sense, trauma comes in all shapes and sizes. And when we think about trauma in general, people think about childhood trauma, but there's actually a bunch of different categories of trauma. Some trauma that, might not be on your radar is secondary trauma or vicarious trauma, religious trauma, even medical trauma.
And on the right, you see another categorization. And by all means, these are not exhaustive. There are many different ways to kind of trying to decipher this very complex phenomenon. But we've found it useful to include today. And it's a kind of dividing trauma into 5 broad categories, which is individual or personal, historical, collective, intergenerational, and my personal favorite, systemic trauma. And this type of trauma stems from the systems of power and oppression. And by trauma, I mean conditioning, the wiring, stems from the systems of power and oppression in the society. For example, those based on religion or origin or sexual orientation or gender. And all of these categories and the wiring and the conditioning or imprint or signature that they create interact on inner landscape at any given moment, often reinforcing each other. And I want to give you one example which corresponds to the previous slide and systemic trauma. And this is about how our cognitive engagement with past events, how we interpret them, and how we feel about them might have nothing to do with the imprint they leave on our inner landscape. And this is a memory, one of my favorite memories from my childhood, when my dad, in one phrase, which I'm going to share, was trying to express his love for me. And I'm giving this in the context of systemic trauma. And so my cognitive memory is on board fully, and interpretation as well. My emotional engagement with that memory is even more on board. It's one of my favorite, and I remember his loving eyes. And now I'm going to tell you the phrase. And only recently, through the neurocapacity work, when I started clearing up my rubble, on the landscape, I saw which imprint it left on my connection with my feminine energy. And so here is this phrase. Looking at me in a very loving and nice environment, he told me, to have a daughter like you is better than to have any son. That's a mic drop moment. I'm just, with your permission, I'm going to leave it without any comment and to give room for your own interpretation. Thank you. And we can go to the next slide, where we included in the middle, I don't know if you've seen this series or not, we took that image from the second season of the series, The Umbrella Academy, and the episode titled World Biggest Ball of Twine. And we kind of like this image because it represents how we're all entangled in our own balls of twine, where the imprints and the conditioning created by past experiences, and here you see I'm switching even away from the word, from the term trauma, are intertwined and reinforce. Very often they reinforce one another. And on the reinforcing, I just would like to share you one of my experiences when in our groups, we talk with abuse survivors, and we often share how the environment around them, so on a healing journey, they start feeling that the environment, which will reflect systemic trauma conditioning, we're all born into that, is not always ready to accommodate someone who starts reclaiming their space, their voice, their energy on a trauma healing journey. And even the most loving caregivers or partners or family members or friends, very often they cannot hold the space and they cannot hold the shift that is happening for the other person. And very often they're reinforcing the systemic conditioning aimed to keep things in place. And sometimes it happens without their even intention to do so, let alone awareness.
So well said, Natalia. And in a lighter way of looking at this, as you see in the photo in the top right-hand corner, the game Kerplunk. I don't know if any of you have ever played that game in your childhood, but essentially it's a plastic cylinder with a bunch of holes in it, and you put the sticks through the holes, pour the marbles on top, and those sticks hold the marbles in place. And this is a great analogy for how we unravel our trauma. As we slowly remove stick by stick, the marbles will begin to drop, and soon enough, eventually, you've lost your marbles.
And actually, I heard this phrase so many times in my environment. Just because I'm restoring my capacity to have arguments, I'm restoring my capacity on my personal journey. And then I hear this phrase coming from my loved ones, those people who care around me, and they might not help it. They might not be aware where it's coming from. But this is another reason why I like this analogy. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing it.
First. So, how can we give space to this reality, the fact that, every single human is affected by trauma and brings this to work with them. Well, by being trauma informed. What does being trauma informed mean? Well, it's understanding the widespread impact of trauma on individuals, communities, and society as a whole, recognizing the signs and the symptoms of trauma, acknowledging the role trauma plays in people's lives, responding in ways that avoids re-traumatization, prioritizing safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. And lastly, but not least, fostering environments that promote healing, resilience, and recovery for those who have experienced trauma. And while we just kind of laid this out, we want to be super clear that the purpose of this webinar is not to go into the specifics of the trauma-informed approach, but really just to give you a high-level overview of the relevance of this topic of trauma and some indicators and opportunity to experience firsthand what trauma-applied sensitivity may look and feel like.
And by the way, thanks for we're receiving comments and your inputs in the chat. This is just absolutely incredible. Thank you for keeping this a two-way street as we intended. And the next slide, we just wanted to go a little bit into the nuances there, because most of us kind of have probably, you've heard about trauma-informed, but how can we apply to the workplace? And we also wanted to bring some nuances that could help us see how we can adopt this framework in a workplace or any actual setting. And here we want to just briefly give a brief overview of the differences between trauma-informed, trauma-aware, trauma-sensitive, and trauma-responsive. Yeah, and the one criterion that is important to keep in mind here, it's kind of the degree, they represent the degree to which the difference in the level of understanding, integration, and proactive action is taken in response to trauma.
Yes, yes. So starting at the top with trauma aware. To be trauma aware means you have a basic understanding of trauma, what it is, and its potential impact on individuals. Being trauma aware also entails acknowledging the potential sensitivities that activate painful and often involuntary responses of trauma survivors, and just being mindful in our interactions. So in a workplace, this looks like leaders being educated and workplaces having training around this.
And when we talk about trauma sensitivity, this is like taking all this a little bit one step further by actively incorporating new skills and practices into one's interactions with one another. And a trauma-sensitive approach in a company or organization may involve creating a setting or ambiance atmosphere that promotes safety, psychological safety, trust, empowerment of their staff and leaders. And a trauma-sensitive working environment, for instance, may provide things like, quieter spaces or wellness rooms or on or off-site counseling for people.
Mm-hmm. Taking it one step further, a trauma-informed approach aims to integrate this understanding into all aspects of an organization or community. A trauma-informed framework acknowledges the impact of trauma on individuals and tries to avoid re-traumatization. This looks like adjusting working conditions for employees, especially those who identify as neurodivergent.
And kind of at the top, another step further is trauma responsive. And this is like, for example, if for trauma-informed, you adjust working conditions for employees, trauma responsive, you actually proactively seek input from your employees in order to inform the decision-making and in order to inform the changes of your bylaws or regulations in your company. And we would like to play a little game right now. I'll give you a real example, and I really want to organize maybe a culture first panel with this concrete case of someone who had his working conditions adjusted because he could not work as anyone else because of very severe case of PTSD. A top performer in an IT company established in Germany. I'm very grateful to know his story because he also uses AI, but that's a different. He uses AI to make his navigation of the working world more adaptable to his condition. And so he asked for his employer, and thank God the company's policies, there are different layers how it can happen, right? So the employer was willing to do that. The company's policies were also on board with that. And the legislation in Germany, the insurance covered that too. They created conditions that worked for him, being neurodivergent as a result of his trauma. So let us know in the chat which category you think it is. Trauma aware, an example of trauma sensitive workplace, trauma informed, or trauma responsive. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so that's just a real life example how we can make one of the options, how we can apply that matrix into developing strategies to make workplace more trauma aware, sensitive, informed, or responsive. And if now kind of the message that we're getting through the slides and, the talking about this topic, that trauma is so pervasive, you may wonder, is there any hope for us? Is there anything we can do about it? And the narrative, it's very interesting to see that in the past few years, the narrative in the professional field has been shifting away from trauma healing to regulation and eventually integration. And the regulation, and we saw something about that in the video that we shared, is the ability to calibrate the response of the nervous system to external or internal stimuli. And the opposite would be the feeling of stuckness. When your cognitive knows that was not why I keep thinking about that. Your heart brain also knows that, you shouldn't be thinking about that, but you kind of feel stuck energetically. So this is very often a sign of post-traumatic conditioning. And integration would be something opposite to dissociation. And integration allows us to restore connection between the parts of yourself or the parts of the brain that had been disconnected as a result of trauma.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at regulation and integration, there are a few different approaches. What's most common or mainstream is that top-down approach. That's that classic talk therapy or CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, perhaps narrative therapy. And this is really about changing your thought in hopes of changing how you feel. On the flip side, we have bottom-up approaches, which is really what I focus on through TRE, and Natalia does some of that as well. Some other practices of that would be somatic therapies, trauma-informed yoga, breathwork, EMDR. And this approach is focusing on changing how you feel in order to change the thoughts. So really processing those sensations in the body. And to be clear, this list is not exhaustive. It's growing, and there are so many different avenues that you can look into and explore and find what works best for you.
And we kind of wanted also, yeah, okay, I think we'll hear more about Thierry. There was a question in the chat. And we also wanted to list a separate category of what I like to refer to infrastructural work. Why? It's something that helps to rebuild or reconnect the work on the mind and body connection. And it refers to my own experience. I was not even in a position infrastructurally to start either top down or bottom up, because some of the key elements of my inner infrastructure, of my inner landscape, including the communication channels between those elements, were altered, compromised with by my trauma's imprint. I was dissociated, cut off from my own body and my intuition by my defensive mechanisms, and any entry points to all of that, including my true self, my heart brain, was sealed off by my defensive mechanisms. And any crack in that armor was perceived by my nervous system as an existential threat. And so I crash landed into all of that, causing re-traumatization. And now I help people get a better sense of what's going on the inside through inner landscaping work that can facilitate actually any interventions, therapies, or paths that people would like to engage with. So we just wanted to highlight that sometimes you need some prep work, a lot of work to kind of invest into your ability to navigate in a landscape that increases your agency to navigate whatever intention you may have also on your healing journey.
Thanks for that call out, Natalia. So we had a question in the chat, and as promised earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about TRE. So this is the approach that I use with clients, and I've used in my life, like I said, for 4+ years now. TRE stands for Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises, and it was founded by Dr. David Berceli, and it consists of a series of exercises that release deep muscular patterns of stress, tension, and trauma that we hold within the body. I say it's a sister to yoga and Tai Chi, as it's kind of a moving meditation. And technically, it involves some light stretching and fatiguing of muscles, as you see on the right-hand side with those photos, so that we can then tap into this innate shaking modality, also known as neurogenic shaking or tremoring, neurogenic meaning coming from the nervous system. And you know what? I bet you've seen this in action in real life, just unknowingly. So this is actually innate in all mammals. If you have a dog, you might see your dog shake with the male person or doorbell or lightning or thunder. And that's the dog's natural way of shaking out or discharging that stress and anxiety of the moment and the trigger. Another example out in the natural world is people who give birth. Lots of times they will shake after giving birth because it's a very traumatic experience on the body. And as we know, we listed birth as a traumatic type of event or category earlier in a few slides ago. So what's happened though in humans is we've completely suppressed this urge. We conditioned ourselves not to shake, for we see it as weak or weird. And this is just part of our conditioning, just like we would hold in a sneeze. So my work is helping people reconnect back to their bodies through this modality, helping them discharge that stress, not holding it in, which causes illnesses and diseases and autoimmune diseases, which we won't get into today. And I help re-normalize this for people so they can live happier, healthier lives. And that's a little bit about TRE. Natalia, what do you do?
Thank you, Sarah. And I absolutely love that we have kind of diverse toolbox here represented. And for me, it's about the essence of the trauma-informed approach. The more entry points we have, the more people we can help. So I love that we kind of help people move in the same direction, but using different tools here. And my approach, as I said, my experience, I came into this work through crash landing onto my inner landscape, which can be called re-traumatization, when the imprints of your prior experience come into your awareness. And that happened through mindfulness meditation. And now I help people increase their agency navigating inner and outer landscape through trauma-informed inner landscaping and neurocapacity work. And to do that, I tap into various tools that might sound familiar to many of us, like, for example, trauma-sensitive yoga. Why not? I came into this body work that was my first door. And that's why I kept it in my toolbox, because for some people, it's even more accessible than meditation. They're more ready to go into that type of work. So I do trauma-sensitive, trauma-informed yoga and trauma-sensitive mindfulness meditation, which can sound and feel quite different from the mainstream mindfulness meditation. And I also use some newer, less familiar tools like applied trauma sensitivity, like in the trauma circle that we host. We don't practice any meditation there, yet we practice. We like to say that it's the place where neuroscience meets neuropractice and turns into neuromagic. And also neurocapacity coaching when it comes to trauma healing. And community is a big part of my approach. I believe this is one of the troubles of our modern world, that we are all left alone with trauma. And the modern way of living structurally does not support this type of work. And so a lot of my offerings are community-based. And just to list a few, the Neurocapacity Atelier on Inner MBA, where it's sort of the trauma circle process that we started, that you see on the slides. Trauma awareness talks and conferences, this makes a huge part of my work. Trauma-informed consulting, an audit of products. I help other people to make whatever they're doing, how they're doing it, a little bit, and I call it a fertilizer. When you just add that facilitator of a trauma-informed container, then the value is multiplied. And this is the essence of that work for me. And also, as I mentioned, this is part of sustainability agenda for me in a broader sense. So sustainable development goals, and especially inner development goals, I believe there is no way to get there in a sustainable and regenerative way until we first give account and space to the accumulation of our shared experience. And also some of the things that are in the pipeline, just hoping that you will find us and we get to work together, because I know that in this audience are amazing people doing amazing things. So I'm just going to very quickly go through the rest of the things on the slide that are in the pipeline. This is like yes, an invitation. No BS female circle, excuse me for the language, but I have been looking for a very long time, a space that would be trauma-informed in relation to the systemic trauma. Then trauma-informed business accelerator, exploring a co-creating together the business paradigm that is not based on the masculine energy, with all due respect to the masculine energy, because we don't have a new one yet that would be based on the feminine, and I would be very interested to be part of that. Then there is this child sexual abuse survival affiliation group that we plan to start based on the idea of peer counseling, people of shared experience, because I think it's one of the heaviest trauma and with the strongest stigma attached. And the survivors are people who lacked protection. So I want to do something about that in the world. And finally, Sarah, do you want to invite everyone here to something that I really like, because I'm part of so many patchwork types of so many different circles of amazing professionals trying to look into that way to help people without derailing their nervous systems. And I never seen an interdisciplinary And everyone I spoke to, they always lacked a place to land for different practitioners subscribing to different practices, different theories, different traditions, where we can all come together and see how we can work on that protocol, that container, that way to do things that do not leave people worse off before they came to us for help. Sarah, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes. You said it all. Just shared the LinkedIn group. So feel free to join that if you're a practitioner. We would love to have you and continue this conversation.
And before we wrap up the main part and open the floor for questions, and again, thank you so much for being so active in the chat. This is just the brilliance of the human energy coming together. Feel free in the questions before we open the floor, feel free to share your comments or any feedback, anything you would like to share. If it's not necessarily a question, that is also very welcome. And in the spirit of trauma sensitivity, feel free to express yourself in whichever form it resonates, maybe nonverbal. If that's accessible to you in the moment, this is how you feel. Maybe simply by sending an emoji or a quote or anything. And before we do that, Sarah.
We have to acknowledge and give our gratitude to those giants whose shoulders we stand on, which are listed here in front of you. These are the people that have done the work, are doing the work, and who we follow and build upon with. So these people are practitioners who've inspired us. And if you don't know any of the names on the screen, we highly recommend that you check out these experts. Again, by no means is this list exhaustive. Thank you. And
Yeah, I think we're.
Yeah.
Jessie, back to you. We would like to open the floor for questions. And yes, thank you for sending the other names that should be on that slide. We just didn't want to create 10 slides. And of course, it's not exhaustive. And thank you for sharing the practitioners that inspired you in your work.
Can we all just like come off mute and give like a little either applause or a little praise or a little love for Sarah and Natalia? Just like a verbal, hey, thank you.
Yay! This is awesome.
Wow. So much.
Yay!
Wow. I have pages of notes. I want to make sure we have time for questions, and then also curious about how folks plan to integrate this into their lives, into their work. Of course, we can of course take a screenshot too, Sarah, if you want to do that. Yeah. Let's take a quick photo. If you would like to join our photo, turn your camera on. If not, that's totally cool. Totally understand if you're doing dishes or taking care of your kids or driving or whatever. So if you are ready, we're gonna take a photo on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. All right. Alyssa, over to you. Let's get into it.
Hi, everyone. This might be some questions. It's my first time coming to something hosted by Culture Amp. So, hi, first timer here. Really loved the presentation and information that I know for myself. I'm still digesting and trying to write down notes as quickly as I can, but handwriting's terrible. I was curious. I saw that a link was shared for the video that was at the introduction. Is there a way that we can contact someone about the presentation that was shared as well? It just had so many good notes, and I know then just so many good pieces to it that I was like, okay, I cannot write fast enough or clearly enough for me to understand what this is in an hour. So if there is an option, who would we contact?
Is that a question for me about
Well,
slides? Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Alyssa, why don't you just reach out to Natalia or I via LinkedIn, and
Okay.
we'll get you a copy of the deck.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
if you two are comfortable sharing the slides, I can put that in the follow-up with the recording for the
Oh,
session.
great. Perfect.
Perfect.
So
Let's do
you'll
that.
get, yeah, all participants will get it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Alyssa.
also just wanted to jump in here and say, like, Alyssa and everyone else, like, this is a lot to take in. Natalia and I really tried to strip it down and do this presentation in a way that was trauma informed itself. So it's a journey. We are still learning and growing, and don't feel like you didn't get it all, because it's constantly evolving.
And maybe if I can add, again, like we did, the buffer after non-practice, before you move on to your next thing on your agenda, however simple or innocent it may be, just allow yourself after this webinar a little bit of that, like, okay, what am I need here? Maybe go for a walk, maybe put this down, maybe I need something else from here, not from here, not from here, but here. So if you could promise us that, we'll be very happy. Thank you.
Oh, such a helpful reminder, because I will definitely be taking a walk after this. Okay, Cami, hi, my friend from KC. How you doing? What you got, sister?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello. I recently became a certified trauma informed coach, to add that layer on top of my own coaching, because I myself have experienced a great deal of trauma. On the ACE test, I scored an 8. But I've done lots of work, and I feel like I can recognize the signs now. And I would love to invite both of you onto my podcast, first of all. And I sent you a request in LinkedIn just so you have a face to go with the request. For those people who think, no, I don't think I ever experienced trauma, but you see those telltale signs, do you do the work with them anyway, or do you and just not mention trauma, or how do you approach that gently?
I love this question. Sarah, do you want to go first?
No, please, by all
Oh my God, I
means.
love this question so much. Oh, but this is exactly why I switched from trauma to experience, past experience, because this is what I get at the entrance door. And I cannot barge in. There is no way I can just go in there and start pointing fingers. And this is why we highlighted the infrastructural work. So many things they need to happen before anything can happen. For that to happen, you see what it's like.
Yeah.
And of course, I never had any trauma. My child was happy. My parents loved me. This is going to be in the armor. This is going to be the first line of defense. And it needs to be respected, and it needs to be given space so they can get a smoking break on the side so you can do your work. And this is, for me, exactly the essence of the trauma-sensitive approach. Without giving space to them, try to think they're not there, or ignore them, or try to replace them with something else. For me, it's not sustainable or regenerative. If I answered your question, thank you so much for this
Thank
question.
you. That's a
Really.
great answer. Thank you.
Sarah, do you want to add on to anything, or just give me space?
Yeah, so when I have someone who's interested in TRE, I meet with them and just kind of assess like where they're at, what other practices have they done, because I'm still equipping myself as to how to be receptive to that and how to get someone to that spot. So I jokingly say that everyone can tremor, but tremoring is not for everyone, or perhaps maybe they're not ready for it. And that's how I kind of weed out, and that's not the right words, but how I kind of pull apart who would be a good fit for this. So.
Thank you.
I love that. I also, it just reminds me, Cami, thank you for the question. It reminds me of like the opening poll that we had here of just like, I've been exposed to groundings or check-ins, or it's like by us even leading a really simple grounding exercise, or a quick like, hey, can we just take like one cleansing breath before we get into this meeting? It normalizes this idea of like taking a pause, mindfulness. Like it's one baby step, and then maybe someone feels comfortable going and taking a micro pause by themselves later, or downloading a meditation app or whatever. But like, even if we just do those little like micro moments, those are huge for us normalizing that to get more of this work to happen.
And I know we're running out of time, but I'll try to add something quickly to that, Jessie, because
Yeah.
when I started my trauma-informed journey as a trauma-informed practitioner, at the core of my starting point was personal or individual trauma. But then I noticed how systemic is everywhere, and it reinforces the personal so often. So in response to your question, Cami, sometimes the person might not even know, but the systemic trauma is going to be there anyways. So it's not an option anymore. They cannot say that it should be an add-on trauma-informed approach when we talk about systemic trauma. So this is just one word I wanted to add. Thank you again for your question.
Hannah, I know you have your hand up, but Bonnie had her hand up before, so I want to make sure that she had a moment to, if you wanted Bonnie to share your.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wavering back and forth whether I should ask it or not. But thank you to the presenters today. It was fantastic. I kind of came into this, somebody invited me to come, and it was perfect timing. But the question is, just seeing all the video and the resources and your whole presentation made me think of like people that I know who could use this information, but how do you share that information with people without like, just being sensitive to it? Like, you don't want to hurt anybody further.
Another brilliant question. My God. Sarah, do you want to start? I'm happy to give you space, unless.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Such a brilliant question. And I face this question every single day, with every person I'm helping, people in my environment, people in my immediate environment. And of course, when you see either in your own experience or as a practitioner, the answers, the tools, of course, your intention is to hear, come, see, this is going to help you. And again, and this is why we want to keep talking, how it's almost every time the question is open for me. How can I deliver that message so that seed gets through the defensive army there and gets into the soil? And it's so individual in every single case. And sometimes you need to find the right moment, the right entry point, the right framing, the right words. So it's really a dance with those soldiers in that army. And if you just go like that, that's why for me, trauma sensitivity is what preserves the value and multiplies it, and the intention, because it increases your chances to get through to your audience or your addressee. So I bow to the care in your question and to the care reflected in that, and your willingness and your desire to help someone you care about. And if my answer helped you, I know that I haven't given you the blueprint for the action, but maybe just that question mark before you that urge to help, a question mark, how can I ensure that my message goes through? Thank you.
Plus one to that. Yeah, I guess I want to say that like some people just aren't ready, and that's okay. We need to give space to that. I truly believe in things unfolding in the time that it needs to unfold. So just give it some space.
Ooh, it's the whole like meet people where they are, on their journey. And where they are is exactly where they need to be at that moment of level of awareness, level of consciousness, wherever that is. Like, meet them on the shore. Many of us are in the deep end at this point, and they're like, what is going on? Like, our work is to meet people where they are and hold their hand. Hannah, I bet we have time for one more question. How about that?
I don't have a question of my own. I just wanted to say there are a couple of questions in the chat that we shouldn't
Yeah.
ignore.
Yes,
So I'll read it out so you guys can hear from Madeline and I think Hannibal. What are the risks of practicing mindfulness meditation for people who might have stored trauma? And what practices can help process said trauma? Any keys to not re-traumatizing yourself as you go through the healing process? And then I think a follow-up is, under what conditions would it be more appropriate to work with a licensed therapist?
Madeline, we need to talk. Can I just answer your question? And I will be so happy because it happened to me. And I certify there is another 1-year certification program after the 2-year certification program, specifically for mindfulness teachers to do it in a trauma-sensitive way. And I took it a little bit step further because I included neurocapacity. Because sometimes you have zero capacity to be with what is. Yes, you start digging up, the cracks are showing, stuff is going to come up, but you have zero capacity to receive it and to hold it and to integrate it. So it's what I do is kind of trauma sensitive, apply trauma sensitivity plus, so to say. But it's a technical question. I love your interest, and this is exactly my area. So I would love to have a conversation with you and help you with everything I can. Thank you.
And to answer the second part of the question, when should you work with a licensed therapist? Well, I believe in layering things, layering approaches. There's nothing wrong with working with a therapist and others who do this type of work. My kind of qualification is if anyone's in a crisis, that's not what I take on. We would recommend that they go see a licensed person. Maybe Natalia, you have some other thoughts on that, but that's what I would say.
The question was whether we need to go or not, right? To a licensed therapist. When are the duty to refer, a sacred duty? Mm-hmm. This is such an important question. My God. And it needs to be part of all trauma-informed protocols. Absolutely. Because this is part of increased agency of the person to navigate all that. And the duty of the practitioner is to refer. And to be clear, I always start with that I'm not a licensed therapist. No. But I have the duty to refer someone. And that's why the trauma-informed approach is so important, and the awareness, so you can read the signs. The person tells you, oh, I don't have any trauma, but the trauma is already there before you even started doing what you were supposed to do, right? And so to see when is the right moment to seek that help, and I would just add, it takes a lot of effort to find I wouldn't like to invite judgy words in here, but for example, if I wanted to refer someone to a certified therapist, I would seek either somatic or trauma-informed or somewhere like that, body-based. And I love how many kind of mainstream certified therapists are now, tapping into more body-based practices. I just love it. This cross pollination of the fields, because they all give an opportunity to more completely help the person. So this is why, going back to our idea of interdisciplinary discussion of this, takes us back there. And we hope that will join us. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Hannah, for amplifying the questions in the chat. Actually, I really do appreciate you acknowledging that. Thank you. Natalia, Sarah, thank you for your time, energy, wisdom today. Our whole purpose today was to better understand the relationship and the connection between trauma and the workplace. And I think many of us picked up a few aha moments throughout the day. So the integration process within ourselves and our organizations beginning once again. If you've been to a Culture First gathering, we normally do this thing called a clap out, and we are like 1, 2, 3, clap, and then the Zoom meeting just ends. However, I am, as a great facilitators, I always say, good facilitators have a plan, great facilitators read the room and are able to adjust with where we are in the present. And I would love if Natalia and Sarah be willing to just like lead us in a few moments of grounding and a few breath moments, maybe whatever that looks like. And we can all leave the Zoom room at whatever time that works for us. That feels like the best approach today. So Natalia or Sarah, if you're open to that, would love to invite that into the space if you're cool with that.
Yes. Natalia?
Why don't we repeat the same non-practice with you prepping the people, and then we gradually see where we are.
Let's do it.
I love
Okay,
it.
so
Thank
oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jessie.
I was just gonna say, thank you all for being here, and over to you.
Okay, so I'm standing. If you're sitting, you can find yourself in a comfortable spot, making sure your feet are flat on the ground, your hips, shoulders, and head aligned, not too rigid, not too flaccid, not leaning back, just right, hands comfortably resting on your lap. Now that we have checked our internal environment, we're going to check our external environment. Maybe we need one quick sip of water or some socks or to close the window next to you. Whatever we need to do to really just settle into our space.
And you may wish to first even feel to what extent you would like to engage with this practice. You may wish to check in with yourself to have enough resources now. Are you in a position to do this practice? Maybe not fully, maybe a little. Just giving space to feel how this intention resonates for you, what's coming up. Allowing your attention to gently land like snowflakes, maybe on your body, or maybe sensations of breathing, allowing your body to experience the attention, and allowing your attention to choose the sensations, or maybe the part of the body where it feels welcome. Allowing your attention to rest there a little. You may feel like adjusting your posture if that supports your practice. Maybe putting your hand on the chest. Feeling how best you can navigate towards Gently wrapping up our closing check-in. What you may need to do or want to do before you re-engage. Taking your time before you open your eyes and gently transition back into the world around you. Do I want to shake it off, Sarah? So feel free if you maybe you need to stretch. And please, a little buffer before whatever comes next on your agenda. Allow yourself that question, little question mark.